Everybody who knows Engel and Völkers understands that we stand for a powerful combination. A global network combined with true local expertise. Finding the right property is not only about the right location. It's about understanding the lifestyle aspects of our clients to make sure we meet their personal and professional expectations. In Zurich, this conversation often includes topics like tax efficiency, proximity to the city, accessibility to international and local schools, and also travel distance to the airport. However, there is one question that keeps coming up is, where can I take my loved ones for a truly special lunch or dinner? It is with great pleasure to introduce you to an icon with a total new fresh chapter, Chez Fritz in Kilchberg. Today we are joined by Elios, whose family has owned this restaurant for decades. And you are having a background in the financial industry, but you always had a passion for hospitality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, knowing that you're taking this endeavor to total new levels.
Thank you, Niki. It's a pleasure to be here, especially since we are just in the midst of our opening phase of this new restaurant. And I'm very glad to have a chat with you about how it has come so far.
So, Elios, tell us about your vision.
Sure. Look, as you just said, decades, that's true. My grandparents, Fritz and Thea Elsener, they've built this restaurant in 1963. And I was born here. I grew up here, spent a lot of time here. And in the last 15 to 20 years, I was traveling a lot. And every time I'm traveling, I see things that I believe are cool, which I would have loved to see also here in Switzerland. I've taken some of these elements back home, and finally I was able and had the time also to bring it to life. Some of the ideas came from Italy, be it at the Riviera coast, be it in Sardinia or Sicily. At the same time, I love Saint-Tropez with all their beach clubs. But always it's Zurich, it's not France, it's not Italy, it's not Greece. That's why I've also taken into account that some of the elements that you might see in London or New York should also come into that vision. And I think now if I look around, I feel like it has come true. So there's a good mix between Saint-Tropez, Riviera, beach club style, but at the same time a bit of London, New York influence, which was key to us.
Talking about Italy and the Mediterranean style, I noticed one of the key things on your menu is fish. I think this is something that Zurich has really been waiting for.
Yes, look at the location, right? We are 2 meters away from the lake now. It's clear that fish needs to be heavy proportioned on the menu. That's why we will have a lot of fish dishes, but also modern interpretation of fish, like ceviches, maybe fish tacos at some point. So it was important to us to really bring fish back to the lake here. Others do it as well, but I think we should really keep the focus. That's why I've also made sure that the chef is having 70% of his menu on the fish side.
Beautiful. We are in Kilchberg, officially the most expensive town in Switzerland. Where do you price yourself with your menu and the offering?
Yes, Kilchberg obviously has gone through quite some interesting times over the last years. I was born here, as I said before, and if I look at Kilchberg now, this has completely changed. So that's why we also needed to adapt our concept in terms of pricing. I would say we are slightly higher than our competitors, left and right. But still, for me, it's clear that prices need to be fair. You can look at wine, for example. If in Zurich I go to a restaurant, I see the champagne or wine for $150, and I walk down the street and I see another restaurant and they charge me 200, then this is not fair, right? So we try to really make sure we have the right balance between yeah, it's costly. We need to pay location, we need to pay our staff, we need to pay ingredients, but at the same time it should be fair.
We often hear from our clients that they truly appreciate the cosmopolitan spirit in Zurich. When I look around here, I see a blend of architecture. Can you tell us a little bit more about this and how you have chosen this amazing style here?
Yes, sure. Look, I mean, this was obviously very important to us as well, to make sure, that we hit, the current state of architectural design, which was not easy. For the exterior part or the shell of the whole building, we worked heavily with Property One, who made sure that we can create something new out of an existing building. As I said, 62 years old, that building, very old, but it's a pavilion from the time in the 60s, which we tried to conserve. It was important that we can keep that and really make sure that we just renew it, keep the simple design. Simplicity was one of the key words that we were always using. And then for the interior part, we tried to find the right interior design studio that helped us to also bring, to bring back the fresh views of interior design paired with some elements from more the 60s, specifically in our case. So more like elements that are maybe seen in other places like the Soho houses of that world. And I think, the mix now between these two elements made the design very punctual in my view. We have taken a lot of natural materials like wood, stone, glass. I think it was very important. Also, the color scheme is super fresh. It's beige, greenish, a bit of turquoise. So very fresh elements at the same time, which are not too much in your face.
One of the topics that we read in the newspaper and are actually one of the key elements that property prices are going up in Zurich is difficulties that project developers and builders are reporting in terms of getting approvals, in getting maybe exceptional approvals to things. If I look at your restaurant, you seem to have changed quite a bit, be it a significant larger parking lot, be it an extension to the entire restaurant space. Was it difficult for you to get these things through?
I would say balanced again. Some of the elements were rather straightforward, but other elements were pretty tough. I mean, there are a lot of obligations that you need to comply with. I mean, the heating, the isolation, the ventilation, all the cooling systems. They needed to also comply with the latest regulations, etc. You just mentioned the parking spot. This was not an easy one because they also told us we need to have more than 40 parking lots for bicycles, which is insane. Otherwise, I would say Kilchberg and the canton of Zurich, they were pretty open to have certain elements being discussed, which we also did. And now I would say, as I said before, balanced. So some of the elements were rather tricky, some other elements were more straightforward.
Elios, I think this is absolutely amazing. You are really delivering the values that our discerning clients are expecting from Kilchberg. I noticed you also open on Sunday. I think this is another incredible added value for us here around the Lake of Zurich on days like today. And I'm extremely excited to know that you guys are open from now on and can't wait to be a regular client of yours.
Thank you very much, Niki. Look, I mean, also I get goosebumps, when I talk to you, when I sit in that restaurant here. I'm extremely thrilled and happy, to be open on a daily basis from now on. It's our great pleasure also to welcome families, but also couples, that are in love on Sundays. I think it's the best location, to have a drink or a nice meal. So thank you very much for having me. And I'm looking very much forward to seeing you all. The place is open, the place is yours. Welcome.